Want scary stories? Listen.
Have you ever lain awake at night, staring at the ceiling, and listening to someone walking above you? One step, a pause, another step. You tell yourself it's just the building settling, old pipes, a neighbor who can't sleep. You repeat it to yourself. This is normal. This happens. Everything is fine. But what if it isn't fine? What if there's one question you should have asked months ago and never did? My name is Ethan. I'm 26 years old. I live alone in a 2-bedroom apartment on the 5th floor of a 9-story building in Portland. And I want to tell you what was happening above my head for 4 straight months and how it ended. I've been putting this off for a long time. I was afraid no one would believe me, but I was even more afraid that someone would. Listen carefully. I moved in at the beginning of February. It was that kind of winter where it gets dark early and the hallways always feel empty, the kind of place where you're alone with your thoughts. And after a breakup, that's exactly what I needed. The first 2 weeks were quiet, completely quiet. Then, one Friday night, I woke up to footsteps right above me, slow, steady, calm. Someone walking back and forth, over and over again, like a pendulum. I checked my phone. 3:17 a.m. I figured someone just couldn't sleep. That happens. So I closed my eyes and tried to drift off again. But the footsteps didn't stop. They went on for half an hour, then an hour. And even when I finally fell asleep, that rhythm was still there, like a metronome that never got turned off. The next day, I decided to go upstairs, just to introduce myself. I found the apartment directly above mine and knocked. Nothing. I knocked again. Waited. Still nothing. I told myself not to overthink it. But that night, the footsteps came back. And the next night. And the night after that. Every time around the same hour. Around 3. And always the same pattern. From one wall to the other. Never toward the kitchen. Never toward the bathroom. Just back and forth. Endlessly. Like someone couldn't stop. Like they were measuring something. I asked a neighbor downstairs if she knew who lived above me. She looked at me strangely and said no one had lived there for years. I laughed at first, but she didn't smile. She just walked away. After that, I started writing it down every night, the time, the duration. And the more I wrote, the less it felt like a coincidence. Then I found out the owner of that apartment had died right there a few years ago. And after that, everything changed. One night, the footsteps stopped, right above my bed. I lay there, not breathing. At first, there was silence. Then, a slow creak in the floor above me. Like someone lowering themselves down. Like they were lying flat, right above me. I didn't sleep until morning. A few days later, I went inside that apartment. It was almost empty, but not completely. There were shoes by the door, a coat hanging on the wall, like someone had just come home. In the living room, there was a sofa, neatly made, and a single chair. On the chair, there was a photograph, an older man standing by a window, looking down. On the back, it said, "He's still here." The next day, I told a friend everything. He said one thing, "Move out," but I didn't. 4 months after I moved in, I decided to spend the night there. And at 3:15, it started again. But this time, the footsteps were below me, in my apartment. I heard them moving, floor by floor, getting closer. Then they stopped at the door. The handle moved. The door opened. A figure stood in the doorway, wearing a long coat. It stepped inside, walked to the sofa, lay down, and went still. When I went back to my apartment, there was a photograph on my kitchen table, the same one. I turned it over. There was a new line written on it. And now, so are you. I moved out the next day. Now I live on the ground floor. No one above me. But sometimes, around 3 a.m., I wake up. I lie there, staring at the ceiling, and I wait, because I realized something. It was never tied to the apartment. It was tied to the one who listens long enough, sleep well, and try not to stare at the ceiling for too long. If you like stories like this, don't forget to subscribe. Want more? Tell me in the comments what kind of stories you want to hear next. Series 2. What follows you? You think that if you leave, everything will end. I thought so too. The new apartment was on the first floor. Small low ceilings. No neighbors above. I specifically looked for one. Like that I checked. I asked again. I even came at night to make sure. Silence. And the first days were really quiet. Too quiet. There were no footsteps, no creaks, no random sounds. Even the refrigerator barely made any noise. And that turned out to be worse, because you start to wait. Every night, I woke up at 3:10, 3:12, 3:14. As if my body set an alarm on its own, I lay there and listened. Nothing. And still, I could not fall asleep. On the 5th night, I heard it again, for the first time. But not from above, and not from below, from the right. As if behind the wall, someone took one step. I froze. 1 second too, and silence. I sat up in bed. I looked at the wall. A normal wall, light gray, no doors, no openings. I knocked on it. Dull, empty. No one. I even laughed then, nervously. You are going crazy, I told myself, and I almost believed it. The next night, there were more steps. One. Pause, another one. But now, closer. Not behind the wall, but as if inside it. Have you ever heard a sound coming not from the room, but from the wall itself? As if the space between you and something starts to disappear. I turned on the light, and the steps stopped immediately. I checked everything. The rooms, the kitchen, the bathroom. No one. But when I returned to the bedroom, on the wall, right where I heard the steps, there was a thin line, like a crack. I remember exactly. It was not there before. The next day, I took a photo of it, sent it to Marcus. He replied almost immediately, "Are you sure it was not there before I zoomed in on the photo?" And only then I noticed. It was not a crack. It was marks, as if someone had been dragging their fingers along the wall from the inside. From the other side. On the 7th night, I decided not to turn off the light. I sat on the bed, took my phone, opened the camera. 3:14. Nothing. 3:15. Silence. 3:16. The first sound. But now, I saw it. The wall. It was slightly moving, barely noticeable, like breathing. And then slowly, almost gently, an imprint appeared on it. A palm. From the inside. I did not move. I did not breathe. Because I understood. It is not just walking. It is searching. And when you listen for too long, it understands where you are. I do not remember how I ran out of the apartment. I just found myself outside barefoot, with the phone in my hand. On the recording, there's only one thing. The last 3 seconds, before I dropped it. You can see the wall there, and you can hear the sound. Not footsteps, a voice, very quiet, right into the microphone. It said, "I found you. I never went back there. But yesterday, Marcus texted me. He asked, 'You already moved out, right?' I replied, 'Yes.' 'Why?' He sent a photo of my old apartment, the one on the 5th floor, on the ceiling, right above the bed, the same line, the same crack, and the caption, 'The new tenant complains about footsteps. I do not know how it works. But now I am sure of one thing. It does not stay in one place. It moves from person to person, through sound, through attention, through fear. It is 3:12 at night. Now, I am writing this and I feel as if someone is standing behind my back. I am not turning around, because I understand, if I see it, it will not knock anymore. It will just enter. If you listen to this, until this moment, do one thing, tonight. If you wake up around 3, do not listen. Just close your eyes and pretend there is nothing, because maybe it is already near. Series 3. It doesn't knock anymore. You think the scariest thing is hearing the footsteps. No, the scariest thing is when they disappear, because that means it is no longer searching. It is already found. I stopped sleeping normally every night. 3:10, 3:12, 3:14. I no longer waited for sounds. I waited for silence, because now I knew if it is quiet, it means it is near, very close. After that message from Marcus, I stopped replying to him, not because I did not want to, but because I noticed one thing. When I text someone at night, the footsteps come back, no matter where I am. Apartment street, even in the car. As soon as I start thinking about it, listening, it appears, as if it only needs one thing for you to wait for it. On the third night after that, I did something stupid. I decided to check. I sat on the bed, turned off the light, and at 3:15, I said out loud, "I know you are here." 1 second, 2, silence, and then right behind my back, a step. 1, not above, not behind the wall, in the room. I felt the mattress sink slightly, as if someone got onto it with a knee, very slowly, very carefully, so that I would understand. I did not turn around, and that might have saved me. Because in that moment, I remembered the words from that photo. He is still here, not there, not in the apartment, but here, nearby. The next day, I started looking for information, old forums, news, archives, and I found it. Not one, many. Similar stories, different cities, different people, but the same thing. Steps at 3:15, empty apartment, above an attempt to check and then silence. And after the silence, people disappeared. And you know what is the strangest thing? No one looked for them, as if they were simply erased. No reports, no news, nothing, as if they never existed. I wrote to Marcus again. I asked, "Did you tell anyone about me?" He did not reply right away. 10 minutes later, a message came. "Yes, I showed your recordings to someone I know." He did not believe it. I stared at the screen, and for the first time all this time, I was truly scared. Not because of the footsteps, but because of something else. If it moves through attention, if it comes to those who listen, then how many people are reading this already? It is 3:13 now. I am writing this, and I feel that there is less air in the room, as if someone is standing too close. Too close. I do not hear footsteps. I hear nothing, and that is the worst part. I will not check anymore. I will not turn around. I will not wait, because now I understand the rule, the final rule. If you hear the steps, you are not the target yet. If you see it, it is already too late. But if it becomes quiet, it means it is looking directly at you. Pause. If you are lying right now and reading this in the dark, do not raise your eyes. Do not look at the ceiling. And most importantly, do not check if someone is behind you. Because if you check, you will become part of the story too. Episode 4. You are already inside. I thought for a long time about whether I should record this. If you made it this far, it means I will not stop this anymore. And maybe you will not either. I realized it too late. This was never a story about an apartment, not about the 6th floor, not about the old man, not about the footsteps. It was about attention, about you. After that night, when I heard a step in the room, I stopped turning on the lights. Not because I did not want to, but because I noticed one thing. When it is dark, it is closer. But when you turn on the light, it does not disappear. It just stops moving, as if it freezes when it can be seen. 3 nights ago, it ended and began. 3:15. I was not sleeping, not moving, not breathing. And for the first time, I was not waiting. I just lay there, pretending that it was not there. And then I felt it. Not a sound, not footsteps. Wait. First on the edge of the bed, then next to me, very slowly, as if someone was lying down, right beside me. I closed my eyes tighter, tried not to think, not to imagine. But the brain does it on its own. You start seeing things you do not want to. And at some point, I realized, if I open my eyes now, I will see its face, right in front of me, breathing distance away. I did not open them. And then it did the last thing. It leaned closer. I felt breath near my ear, cold, almost absent, and I heard a whisper. Now you understand. And that is all. No footsteps, no sounds. Since then, silence. Complete. Perfect. You will think, good, it is over. No, this is where the worst part begins. Because yesterday, I saw myself from the outside. Marcus sent me a video from the security camera in the hallway. Date yesterday. Time 3:15. In the video, I walk out of my apartment, slowly, in the dark, barefoot, and I start walking down the corridor, back and forth, exactly the same way as it was above me. But that is not all. There's a moment in the recording that he did not notice at first. I asked him to rewatch it, to slow it down, and then we saw it. When I pass by the camera, I turn my head, look straight into the lens, and smile. But it is not my smile. Too calm, too empty, and behind me, someone is standing, motionless, very close, and when I turn around, it disappears. Marcus wrote only one thing. This is not you. I no longer feel it, near me. Do not hear it, do not see it, nothing. And that is exactly why I am sure it is not outside anymore. Pause. If you are listening to this now, and you think this is just a story, remember one last thing. It does not come to everyone, only to those who listen too carefully, who wait, who make it to the end. And if tonight you wake up around 3 and hear nothing, absolutely nothing, check one thing, very quietly, very carefully. Are you sure you are lying there alone?